You're listening to the Madness4life News Podcasting Network with your host, Matt Maldonado. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this next edition of the podcast number 25. It is Tuesday, the 21st of August, 2012. I'm your host, Matt Maldonado, here in FEMA Region 9 in Las Vegas, Nevada, and this is Madness4life News. I'm going to be getting into Jacob Rothschild, John Paulson, and George Soros are all betting that financial disaster is coming. Pre-crime cameras for RNC in Tampa. Cops harass family for allowing kids to play outside. Fed court rules banksters can steal pensions. I'm going to be getting into all of that today. Let's get into this one first right now. From the economic collapse, Jacob Rothschild, John Paulson, and George Soros are all betting that financial disaster is coming. From Michael Snyder, you will bet, are you willing to bet against three of the wealthiest men in the entire world? Jacob Rothschild recently bet approximately $200 million that the euro will go down. Billionaire hedge fund manager John Paulson made somewhere around $2 billion betting against the U.S. housing market during the last financial crisis, and now he has made huge bets that the euro will go down and that the price of gold will go up, as I wrote about in my last article, which was Michael Snyder. Continuing here, George Soros put approximately $130 million more dollars into gold last quarter. So will the euro parliament will plummet like a rock. Will the price of gold approximately soar? Will it? Well, if a massive financial disaster does occur, both of those two things are willing. I can't even read today. What's wrong with me? Likely to happen. The European economy is becoming more unstable with each passing day, and investors all over the globe are looking for safe places to put their money. The mainstream media keeps telling us that everything is going to be okay, but the global elite are sending us a much, much different message by their actions. Certainly, Rothschild, Paulson, and Soros know about things happening in the financial world that the rest of us don't. The fact that they are all behaving in a consistent manner right now should be alarming for all of us. Let's start with Jacob Rothschild. Apparently, he believes that the euro is heading for quite a tumble. The following is from a recent CNBC article. You know, the euro is in deep water when a Darwin of the banking industry, Lord Rothschild, takes a 300 million euro, $200 million bet against it. It's actually pounds. It's not euro. Excuse me. Okay, but the euro has already been failing dramatically in mid-2011. The euro USD, the US dollar, was above the 1.40 mark, and right now it is about 23, I'm sorry. Does it really have that much more that it can fall? If the Eurozone ends up breaking apart, it sure does. If the Eurozone ends up breaking apart, it sure does. If there is a Greek default, or if Germany leaves the euro, or if a new currency comes along to replace the euro, those currencies those currently betting against it will end up looking like geniuses. Another big name in the financial world that is betting against the euro right now is John Paulson. John Paulson, yeah. The following is from a recent Der Springer, Der Spiegel article. One of these warriors is John Paulson, the hedge fund manager, once made billions by betting on a collapse of the American real estate market. Not surprisingly, the financial world set up and took notice when Paulson, who is now widely despised in America as a crisis profiter, announced in the spring that he would bet on a collapse of the euro. And as I noted in my last article, which was Spiegel, Paulson has also been putting billions of dollars into gold. So just what are Rothchild and Paulson doing? Could we be on the verge of a massive financial collapse in Europe? According to the Der Spiegel article mentioned above, a lot of investors seem to be preparing for such a possibility right now. Banks, companies, and investors are preparing themselves for a collapse of the euro across the board. Cross-border bank leading is falling. Asset managers are shunning Europe, and money is falling into German real estate and bonds. The euro remains stable against the dollar because America has debt problems too. But unlike the euro, the dollar's struggle isn't in doubt. The financial world is starting to wake up to the fact that the globe is obviously drowning in debt, and it is not really good to be holding fiat currency when a debt crisis erupts. When men like John Paulson and George Soros start pouring huge amounts of money into gold, it is time to start becoming alarmed about the state of the global financial system. The amount of money that these men are investing in gold is staggering. There was also news last week in an SEC filing that both George Soros and John Paulson and increased their investment in SPDR Gold Trust, the world's largest publicly traded physical gold exchange traded fund. Mr. Soros upped his stoke in the ETF to 884,400 shares, 884,400 shares from 319,550 shares. And Mr. Paulson bought 4.53 million shares, bringing his stake to 21.3 million. At the current price of about 156 a share, there are new investments of about 88 million of Mr. Soros's cash and more than 700 million from Mr. Paulson's funds. There are significant positions. And the central banks of the world are currently buying gold at an unprecedented rate as well. According to the World Gold Council, the central banks of the world added 157.5 metric tons of gold last quarter. That was the biggest move into gold of the central bank of the globe that we have seen in modern financial history. But that might just be the beginning. According to a recent Market Watch article, there are presented rumors that China has plans to buy thousands of metric tons of gold. Within the gold market, there is unconfirmed speculation that China plans to buy up at least 5,000 to 6,000 metric tons of gold, and that it will start to buy during this year, according to Kevin Kerr, president of Kerr Trading International. If China buys this much gold, that it would exceed annual global production of gold. He said, "We do not have enough gold for China to buy that much, and it will take China time to purchase this amount of gold." So what comes next? Nobody is quite sure. Another major financial crisis could erupt in Europe at any moment. A major war in the Middle East could start literally any time, at any time. Renowned investor Jim Rogers believes that things are really going to get bad after the next election. Others believe that the actions could turn even sooner than that. The truth is that even though we have not seen a Lehman Brothers moment yet, yet things in Europe just continue to get progressively worse. The following is from a recent article by Mark E. Grant. Rather you turn your attention to Greece, Spain, Italy, Portugal, or even Ireland, it is getting worse. Nowhere on the continent are things improving, and even in France and Germany, the financial strain are beginning to show. It is not a question of euro bear or euro bull. It is just the numbers as they come rolling out months after month. There is a growing realization in Europe that the euro simply does not work. And Italy is obviously drowning in debt. The Spanish economy has basically descended into a depression, and Greece has been expressing depression like conductions for years at this point. Conditions for years. Depression-like conditions for years at this point. The euro is doomed. The only question is who is going to blink first. It looks like Greece, actually. It's probably going to blink first. Nobody wants to be the first to leave the euro. There are rumblings ramblings that it could actually be Finland that leaves the euro first, and that would please Germany just fine because they don't want to look like the bad guy in all of this, even though they're the ones buying up the debt anyway. But that doesn't mean that Germany won't eventually pull the trigger if nobody else does. The German public is sick and tired of bailing out the weak sisters of Southern Europe, and at this point, it looks like it would take approximately bailouts just to keep the euro together. And recently there have been lots of little signs that Germany is starting to move slowly toward the exit doors. In fact, I found it quite interesting that a giant euro speculator was recently removed from the Frankfurt International Airport. A mass euro expenditure? I think that's what it means. Identical to the one in front of the Euro Central Bank was dismantled and removed from the Frankfurt International Airport in Germany Thursday. The official explanation is the plastic parts are getting weak after 11 years and the terminal needed the space. Does euro expenditures removal from the Frankfurt air induct Germany is preparing for a surplus return to the Dutch mark? Sure, that might just be a coincidence, but it also could be a harbingers of things to come. Could be a sign of things to come. Sadly, most average people living in North America and Europe have obviously no idea what is coming. Most of them just want to be able to get up in the morning and go to work and pay the bills and take care of their families. Unfortunately, millions upon millions of those hardworking individuals are in for a very rude awakening. A lot of people are about to have their current lifestyles totally turned upside down, but it doesn't have to be all bad. In fact, I found it very interesting to read about how some young people are responding to the depression in Greece in the spring of 2010, just as the Greek government was embarking on some of its harshest austerity measures. 29-year-old can't say his name, packed in his well-paid job as a website designer, gave up his Athens apartment and walked away from modern civilization in the foothills of Mount Tinil. I can't even say that mountain. Lintron, whatever, on the Greek island of Evia, whatever. Mr. Senos and three other like-minded Athenians just sat up an eco community. The idea was to live in an entirely stable way, free from the ties of money and cut off from the natural electricity grid. The group sleeps commonly in yurts they have built themselves. They grow their own food and exchange the surplus in the nearest village for any necessities they cannot produce. I think that there is a lesson to be learned there. When the system fails, it is going to be important to be able to live independently of the system. Government and big banks all over the world have been rapidly preparing for the coming financial collapse. Perhaps the rest of us should be too. If you can believe it, 77% of all Americans live paycheck to paycheck at least some of the time. If another major economic crisis comes along, many of those people are going to be totally wiped out. And there are already signs that the U.S. economy is becoming on life support at this point, Just look at the veracity of money in a economy that is growing and healthily. Money tides to circulate very, very quickly. But when an economy is sick, money ties is. Oh, I already said that, and that is exactly what is happening right now. In fact, the veracity of money is currently at the lowest level in modern U.S. history, as you can see from the graph. For much more decisions on this, please check out this article. When it goes to, click on the link from InfoWars, it goes to Across the Street. Shh, it's even worse than the Great Depression. Of course. This is exactly continuing from this other article from Michael Snyder of the Economic Collapse, finishing up here. This is exactly what happened back in the 1930s. The veracity of money obviously plummeted when people are scared. Credit is tied and times are hard. Money does not exchange hands as rapidly, but this is just the beginning. What we are experiencing right now is rapid, rip-roaring prosperity compared to what is coming. Jacob Rothschild, John Paulson, and George Soros are preparing themselves for the tremor. They're ready for the chaos that is coming. Are you getting prepared? Not really. Next. Pre-crime cameras are for RNC in Tampa. This is where they're going to be spying on the Ron Paul supporters. So if they start to try something at the RNC convention, then what they can do is just arrest them like they've done all over the country anyway. Okay, there's a Paul Joseph Watson article from InfoWars. Tampa Police Department will deploy dozens of behavioral recognition surveillance cameras at the Republican National Convention later this month, with the cameras remaining in place and more being added after the event finishes. The police department in Tampa, Florida, is deploying behavioral recognition software from BRS Labs on dozens of the video cameras that will provide round-the-clock surveillance at many of the venues where the GOP National Convention will take place August 27th, 30th, reports Government Security News. The cameras work by using a software program called AI Site 3.0, which is pre-programmed to acknowledge that behaviors are considered normal and then report any suspicious activity if it is spotted to police headquarters equipped with the ability to track up to 150 suspects at a time. The cameras built up a memory of suspicious behavior to determine what consists of potential criminal activity. Even though they could probably just come up with anything, it just wouldn't really matter. Hey, he's right. He's right. Liking Ron Paul, let's throw him in jail. Anyway, let's continuing here. Critics have labeled the surveillance system one step away from pre-crime. The technology in inexorable link within the 2002 science fiction film Minority Report, starring Tom Cruise, based on the short story by Philip K. Dick. The movie depicts the restless police state that employs cybernetics called precargs to appropriate criminals before crimes occur. However, instead of being removed after the RNC concludes, more behavior recognition cameras will be added to keep tabs on the general public. BRS Labs President John Farzini told GSN that once the convention is over, Tampa police will continue to deploy the technology in expanded footprint. This again manifests how invasive surveillance technology are justified under the pretext of national security events, and yet once the event is over, another permanent large towards an Orwellian, actually a permanent launch, towards an Orwellian society has been accomplished. Although the BRS Labs president refuses to confirm, rather the cameras would also be used at the Democratic National Convention. Well, they're not going to use it that way because they already know that the Democrats ain't really going to do anything. But that's okay. In Charlotte, North Carolina, the president did, from BRS, the BRS president did point out, nevertheless, that he was standing in a parking lot in Charlotte, North Carolina, while conducting the telephone interview with GSN, meaning the same system will almost certainly be in operation at the DNC, which is the Democratic National Convention. So it'll be at both. Preparations for the RNC in Tampa as a national security event will be long in the making, as we reported back in July. Garbage collectors will have been trained to spot terrorist and other suspicious activity on their routes as part of a program on Doubled Waste Watch. Authorities are increasingly turning to pre-crime methods of surveillance in order to reduce the need for human intelligence and eliminate the requirement for camera footage to be watched by employees in real time. BRS Labs recently announced that a total of 288 pre-crime cameras will be installed across 12 transport hubs in San Francisco. Law enforcement agencies in Washington, D.C. are already using a software database deployed by the University of Pennsylvania that they claim can predict when crimes will be committed and who will commit them before they actually happen. Other forms of pre-crime technology in use or under deployment include neurological brain scanning that can read people's intelligence before they act, thus directing whether or not a person has hostility intent. Yeah, because people can usually think about it but not really act. But hey, that's a crime in and of itself. If you just think it, hey, you're probably gonna do it, even though that's not really true. It's the actions that make people criminals, not really the thought. But hey, that's all right. Let's move on here. Pre-crime technology is also being rolled out in airports and other public venues in order to identify suspected travelers and single them out for interactions. There we go. Out for interactions. That this face scanning system successfully discriminates between truth and lies in about 2/3 of cases, which equals to a little more currencies. No, it's man, I cannot read today. I'm gonna skip that word. Then chance alone making it even less reliable than the notorious polygraph test. Yeah, that was a real joke. Anything you say they say it's a lie. Even if it's true, they'll say, yeah, it's a lie. All right. Hey, it's their word against yours, right? Which has been widely discredited and is habitually uncertain, as we have previously documented. The Department of Homeland Security's FAST program is based around similar technology that professes to detect malcontent, whatever, by means of pre-crime interactions and physical scans. Next article. And the only thing they're going to be looking for is just people who are Ron Paul supporters and stuff like that. And they want to say, oh, they're probably going to cause a problem there. Well, when you're selling out your own country, well, what do you want them to do? Well, Ron Paul's probably going to go there and go, be respectful now, be respectful. Oh, okay, Ron, but isn't that just going along to get along? When they beat the crap out of you? I don't know. Hey, that's his decision. Cops instigate family for allowing kids to play outside. This is a Paul Joseph Watson article. A family has been harassed by social services and police for the crime of allowing their children to play outside, in another example of how the nanny state is running wild in America. The editor of the Free Range Kids website was contacted by a mother in Virginia who related her story of how she was integrated by police 4 times. Well, it was mostly interacted by police 4 times, and visited by social services twice after her children were spotted playing outside unsupervised. You know, it's really interesting. When I was a kid, we would usually just go out without our parents, and whatever happens. You know, but hey, that's okay, because we need the government to be involved and just have all the neighbors just report on you every day. Well, all those nosy neighbors that don't know anything about raising children. But hey, that's okay, because they have to poke their nose where it doesn't belong. But hey, that's all right. And social services, one of the companies that literally steals children, like the CPS, will take your child and do things that I can't really talk on this podcast about. And they usually do it with the FBI, the CIA, the police. But hey, that's all right. That's a side story. Continuing here. The mother said that despite the fact she is careful about allowing her kids to stay over at another person's houses because of a related childhood trauma of her own, she is being harassed by authorities because she is one of only 2 families that allows my children to play outside at all in our neighborhood, which is very safe. Just today, I allowed all 4 of my children. They were all together to go play in the field adjacent to my house. I could literally see them outside my kitchen window. My 10-year-old ran home to tell me, husband and I, that a cop had stopped and was interacting with my oldest daughter, the mother writes. No, this was not after dark. It was at 4 p.m. on a Saturday. So my husband walked out to see what was going on, and the police officer even wrote up a report stating that the children were left outside unsupervised. Although she makes her children carry cell phones and check in every 30 minutes, the mother was told by her neighbors that it just isn't safe anymore to allow your children to be playing outside. It's all about also this whole thing of just being afraid. It's always about being afraid. Don't go outside. Just don't do it. When the mother asked the police officer if the children, 2 teens, a preteen, and a 5-year-old were causing trouble, the officer responded, "No, they were very respectable kids. I just wanted to make sure they were okay because it was odd seeing them outside unsupervised. How dare they go outside unsupervised? Because when the government tells you to supervise them, you're going to do what you're told. Even though it's not really their job to do so, but they're going to do it anyway." How fundamentally warped has society become when children are not allowed to play outside in a field right next to their own house without suspicion on casting on their parents by authorities and neighbors. Paranoia about children abduction has been hyped by both the media and the state as a means of parental rights and transferring such power over to the government. In reality, America has never been safer for kids in decades. As AOL News' David Knowles documents, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, 980,712 people under the age of 18 were reported missing in 1997, compared to 643,744 in 2008. Children abduction are declaring rapidly year upon year. So why are Earth on Americans? So why on earth are Americans increasingly terrified of allowing their kids to enjoy the freedom of the great outdoors? Because they want to acclimate you into the dun-dun-dun household. So you can never go outside, because if you go outside, you're a terrorist. This is, continuing here, this is another example of the nanny state gone wild. Manufactured paranoia that has been no basis in reality is being hyped to turn all parents into potential child abusers, and in the process castrate the happy, normal, and adventurous upbringing that all children should enjoy. It is any wonder that so many children end up being put on Ritalin or other psychiatric drugs, given that the happiest days of their lives and the key formative stage of their development is being struggled by such overbearing nonsense. Parents are being harassed by police and social services for caring for their children in ways which a sane society would consider normal and healthy. Back in 2010, we reported on the case of a father of two who was harassed and investigated by Child Protective Services and police for feeding his daughters organic food. Oh, heaven forbid you give your children healthy, good food. Those organic foods, they could kill you. Actually, in all studies, it actually helps the children grow and give them better brain growth and stuff like that. But hey, that's all right. It also gives them better eyesight, but that's all right. Refusing to make them drink fluoridated poison tap water and not having them injected with mercury-leaded vaccines. Because, hey, you can't raise your children the way you want to raise them. No, the state's going to tell you how to raise them. That's the way it's going to be. And, hey, we're going to love it. We're going to love it even better when they take us out of FEMA camps and, salute it. Because the normal American people just hate it when you actually want to see your children happy and healthy, because they want to see those children just dead, because that's the way our society is. And it's really sickening. All right, continuing here with the last article. Fed court rules banksters can steal pensions. That is right. Even though that it's not really theirs to begin with, they could steal it anyway, out from under you. This is from a Kurt Nemo article. Fed court rules banksters can steal pensions. InfoWars picked this up in a court case glossed over by the corporate media earlier this month. The U.S. Court of Appeals Seventh Circuit has ruled that individual surrogated bank accounts may be turned into the property of a third party under circumstances of duress. That is correct. So because of the fact that it's not really your money anymore, the money that you've earned, it's theirs now. And they could take your pension funds and sell it off to other countries, because they've done that before. They did that to the teachers' pension funds, and they're going to do it to the cops and everybody else's, because it's fun. It's fun to be under a banking takeover. It's just cool. And that was sarcasm, by the way, but hey, no one likes sarcasm. Heaven forbid. Continuing, in other words, if a financial institution fails, clients, depositories, and pension funds may not get some or all of their money back in a bankruptcy. Writes a columnist for the Bacon Quality. Is that Bacon? Sorry, Quality Research. The Senate ruling has legalized the theft of segregated customer funds and pensions by large banks and financial institutions, like the John Corsline incident where he literally stole people's money, but yet he gave most of the money to like J.P. Morgan and I think it was just J.P. Morgan. Yeah, he gave most of the money to J.P. Morgan because J.P. Morgan put money in there. And I think it was another institution that was part of that MF Global scheme. But anyway, well, they did admittedly steal Gerald Salente's accounts, but hey, that's just okay. Continuing here, moreover, the ruling overrides protection of frauded by federal deposit insurance and other government insurance programs, and leaves millions of investors, depositories, and retirees unaware that they are no longer account holders of their own funds. Per CE, but instead have suddenly become stockholders of the institution with which they have deposited their money. The columnist writes, Barnhart points out that the ruling sets the stage for banksters' consolidation ahead of an economic collapse. Bernhardt writes on her blog that all customer funds in the United States are now the legal property of J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and other mega banks and financial institutions that taken over the country. Ridiculous. Sentinel took customer segregated money and fraudulently used it as the collateral on a loan from Bank of New York. Mellon for $312 million to fund their own in-house proprietary? No, it's proprietary trading operations. When the Sentinel Ponzi collapse, BNYM sued to go to the front of the line of the creditors ahead of the customers of Sentinel whose money was fraudulently used as collateral, which has now been sanitized into the word path. What is it? It's hypothetical. I don't know. She writes. Can't even read. Anyway, what this means is that even if John Corsline is somehow dragged into court by private citizens, because you know damn good and well that the Justice Department will never even touch him. Corsline is so convinced of his fate, he has decided to launch a hedge fund, which you can click on that, and it goes to Forbes.com, and it says clearly, let's skip this ad. They always put these ads on this stupid thing. Here we go. Corsline, John Corsline may start a hedge fund. Another globalist. You can read that there from that. Let's get out of that. Continuing here, insurance is designed to cover discrete individual I can't say it. Okay, if one bank fails, the FDIC can come in and backstop that one bank, no problem. Bernhard explains, what do you think is going to happen if the entire system collapses? What happens, do you think, if even, let's say, 25% of the banks or the banking capacity in the United States fails? We are now talking trillions and trillions of dollars in deposits. Bernhard places blame in part for the coming economic collapse on the American people because they have voted into office psychopaths who protected bankster psychopaths. The protection of the correlation to the psychopaths running the government and financial sector is hard to improve upon. They have zero remorse. They are not sure. They're not sorry, but disgusted and degraded that they were caught and that society has the gall to hold them to any account, she notes. Yeah, because heaven forbid you actually held accountable the bankers that actually destroyed your own country. And we know this is illegal, and most of these bankers could easily go to jail. But the government says, you know what, that's not going to happen because we're part of them too. So we should all go to jail. I mean, it's just really ridiculous. But anyway, that is the show for today. If you want to follow me, you can click the subscribe button of this channel on YouTube. You can also follow me on Vimeo, Facebook, and other websites. I will put the links below, as well as also the music that you heard was Close to Modern's Stay. I will put the links below where you can follow them at. And I hope everybody has a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow. So remember, united we stand, divided we fall, and God bless America.